Hey there, literary luminaries. It is Tuesday, which means this is another Tuesday Talks video. Today's topic is, what are your favorite settings in books? This one was hard for me. I don't know why, though. It's kind of an interesting topic because setting is one of the most important things in a book. Setting and, character and plot. These are the three main things that people pick up on first. So, in theory, I should have some favorite settings. And I put a lot of thought into this, and I don't know. So, I started thinking of some of my favorite books, and determined that they were probably favorite settings of mine because I liked the books. So, let's talk about some favorite settings. First off, and this is partially setting and partially the overall something, I love stories that sort of take place in an older era. Not necessarily, Victoriana or steampunk or period pieces. Like, it doesn't have to be that, but The Lord of the Rings is sort of an example of this in that it takes place in a world that doesn't necessarily have, computers or telephones or any of that jazz. It still has, kings and wizards and that sort of thing. And I like that in fantasy. I like taking away some of the modern conveniences of the world and forcing it to focus more on the world that it's in and the people that are in it. It's one of the downfalls of technology. And I love technology, do not get me wrong. But one of the downfalls is that it puts a bit of a distance between us and the rest of the world. There's this wall, there's this camera that's, right in front of your face here. And I can't see you, but I'm talking to you. And it's easy because it means that, I can make friends all over the world and it doesn't matter that they don't live right here with me or in my area. But double-edged sword, I suppose. But I like places where it takes that away. And I guess I do see that most in either high fantasy or, steampunk Victoriana style settings. And that's fine. There are several books like that I enjoy. Sort of in a similar vein, one of my other favorite settings is somewhere different from where I am. And I know that's a little vague, so I'll try and clear it up a tiny bit. I live in Richmond at the moment, and that's sort of south. But I love books like To Kill a Mockingbird or plays like The Glass Menagerie that take place more in the deep south, and you see some of the hospitality and courtesy and all that gets attributed to people like Southern Belles that you don't necessarily see anywhere else, and certainly isn't as much part of the culture up north where I grew up. I like seeing stuff like that. Again, you see this a lot in fantasy as well. But it doesn't just have to be, other worlds, other planets, other everything. Just something that's different. Especially back when I was growing up. I liked books that took place in a city because I didn't live in a city. I lived in a very small rural town that I think the last time I checked, the most recent census said 300 people lived there. And I think that's stretching the boundaries of where that town actually exists. Because I've seen how many houses are there, and I'm not sure you could fit 300 people in all of them. On a similar note, books that take place at least partially in other countries is always fun. It gives the reader a chance to see an aspect of a world that we aren't necessarily familiar with. I like this especially when it's someone that hasn't been there before. So for instance, me traveling to Spain. I haven't been to Spain. But anyone traveling outside of their boundaries, someone going into something unknown. Absolutely wonderful. I love the fish out of water sense. And I like learning about cultures and whatnot through books. The last one I'm going to touch on is a little bit of a tricky one, and I'm not quite sure how to define it because it's kind of something I don't like, and I'm using it to describe something I do like, if that makes any sense. I like worlds that you get completely introduced to in a natural fashion. And the negative thing that I'm comparing this to is the concept of instant immersion into a book. One of my favorite series now did this, and the Black Jewels trilogy by Anne Bishop did this, and it threw me off so badly when I first started reading the books, is that you got dropped into a brand new world with a whole bunch of different things, completely different from, the everyday human world not in books, and never explained any of it. We were just expected to know what was going on, or expected that we would catch up along the way. And for some of that, I did catch up along the way, but one of the core elements of the books is never really explained until the middle of the third book. And by that point, I had sort of accepted that this was a thing and I had no idea why, but it clearly was. And I think that's unfortunate because I want to understand your world. I don't want to have to fight my way through, grasping the basics, unless it's supposed to be a big surprise at the end. Which I suppose would be fine, but would really have to depend on how it was done. That's a little fuzzy for me. One of the best pieces of writing advice I ever got was a comment that you have to make sure to pay attention to the differences between your world in the book and the world that your reader lives in. Because when a book is as close to the real world as some are, you don't need to explain the world at that point. You don't need to explain how cars work unless your cars run on magic, in which case that would be different from the real world. The further your book gets from the real world, the more you have to pay attention to what you describe. The more it's like the real world, the less you have to describe, because we already know how it works. But if your magic is innately tied to this thing about you, then you should explain that, because nothing like that exists here in my bubble. And it's very easy, especially with as many books and authors there are in the world, it's very easy for readers to say, you know what, I don't understand this, it doesn't seem like they're coming clean with it, I'm 150 pages in, and I'm just gonna stop. There's too many books on people's TBRs to be trudging your way through books you don't understand. Now, on the other hand, I know some people that really enjoy having to learn through trial and error, I guess. It's the best way to learn a language, I've been told. So maybe this is my personal preference, but I like worlds that explain themselves through showing us what it does, rather than telling us too late. This is really hard. I can't think of specifics. I think in the end, my favorite settings are the ones that are told clearly. And I know that's really vague, but if you can describe your setting and make me believe that I could be there, that's going to be a setting I enjoy. I want to be able to put myself into the world of the characters. I want to be able to connect to these characters. It doesn't matter where it's set at that point, as long as I can be there. And those are the books that become my favorites. And that can be as simple as, the next city over, or it can be planets away on a spaceship. It doesn't matter to me. What matters is how well it's told. So maybe that's a cop-out answer. I don't really know, but it's the best I'm going to be able to do. Let me know what you think down in the comments. What are some of your favorite settings? Do you agree that sometimes this can be a bit of a toss-up? Do you have specific settings that you go out of your way to look for? Let me know! I'd love to hear from you. If you liked the video and you'd like to see more, feel free to click the subscribe button, leave me a comment, leave me a like. All of the things really help me out. If any of you are involved in pitch wars over on Twitter, you can check out my blog for my mentee bio, and of course follow over on Twitter to see what I'm doing with that. I'd love to hear from any of my fellow pitch wars people. Are you all as nervous as I am? With any luck at all, I'll have a brand new video for you tomorrow, and until then, I'll see you later. Bye! Oh, the speakers aren't on. There's so much ambient noise in this place. I can't wait for it to stop. Oops. Because I'll never get anything done. Distance. I don't live that close to the airport. This is the second plane in like 3 minutes. How long have I been? Yeah, almost 3 minutes. The further your book gets from the real world, the more you have to pay attention to what you Nope. I need a sign off.